Chapter 6. Danger. It was the height of the reign of terror. McMurdo, who had already been appointed inner deacon, with every prospect of the same as succeeding McGinty as bodymaster, now was so necessary to the council his comrades that nothing was done without his help and advice. The more popular he became, however, with the freemen, the blacker were the scowls which greeted him as he passed along the streets of Amicia. In spite of their terror, the citizens were taking heart to band themselves together against their oppressors. Rumors had reached the large of secret gatherings in the Herald office and of distribution of firearms among the law-abiding people. But McGinty and his men were undisturbed by such reports. They were numerous, resolute, and well-armed. Their opponents were scattered and powerless. Would it all end, as had done in the past, in aimless talk and possibly an important arrest? So said McGinty, McMurdo, and all the bolder spirits. It was Saturday evening in May. Saturday was always the large night, and McMurdo was leaving his house to attend it when Morris, the weaker brother of the elder order, came to see him. His brow was creased with care, and his kindly face was drawn and haggard. "Can I speak to you freely, Mr. McMurdo?" "Sure. I can't forget that I spoke my heart to you once, and then you kept it to yourself, even though the boss himself came to ask you about it. What else could I do if you trusted me? It wasn't that I agreed with what you said. I know that well. But you are the one that I can speak to and be safe. I have a secret here." Put his hand to his breast, "and I trust burning my life out of, and it's just burning the life out of me. I wish I'd come to any one of you but me. If I tell it, it will mean murder for sure. If I don't, it may bring the end of us all. God help me, but I'm near out of my wits of wit." McMurdo looked at the man earnestly. He was trembling in every limb. He would poured some whiskey into a glass and handed it to him. "That's the physic for the likes of you," said he. "Now, let me hear it." Morris drank, and his white face took a tinge of color. "I can tell it to you all in one sentence," said he. "There is a detective on our trail." McMurdo stared at him in astonishment. "Why, man, you're crazy," he said. "Isn't the place full of police and detectives? What harm did they ever do us?" No. It is no man of the district, as you say. We know them. And it is the little that we can do. But you heard of Pinkertons. I've read of some folk of that name. Well, you can take it from me, you've shown no show when they are on your trail. It is not a take it or miss it government concern. It's a dead earnest business proposition that's got out for results and keeps out until by hook or crook it gets them. If a Pinkerton man is deep in the business, we are all destroyed. Well, we must kill him. That is the first thought that came to you, so it helped be up at the lodge. Didn't I say to you that it would end in murder? Sure. What is murder? It isn't common enough in these parts. It is indeed, but not for me to point out the man that is to be murdered. I never rest easy again, and it is our own necks that may be at stake. In God's name, what should I do? He rocked to and fro in his agony of indecision. But his words had moved McMurdo deeply. It was easy to see that he shared the other's opinion, and as to the danger and the need for meeting it, he gripped Morris's shoulder and shook him in earnestness. "See here, man," he cried. He almost screeched the words in excitement. "You won't gain anything by sitting, kneeling like an old wife at a wake. Let's have the facts. Who is this fellow? Where is he? How did you hear of him? Why did you come to me?" "I came to you, for you're the one man who could advise me. I told you I have store in the east before I came here. I left good friends behind me. One of them is a telegraph service. Here's a letter that I had from him yesterday. It is part of the top page. You can read it yourself." This is what McMurdo read. "How are the scours going on in your parts? We read plenty of them in the papers. Between you and me, I expect to hear news from you before long. 5 big corporations and 2 railroads have taken the thing up in dead earnest. They mean it, and you can bet they'll get there. They are right deep down into it. Pinkerton has taken hold under their orders, and his best man, Bertie Edwards, is operating. The thing has got to be stopped right now." Now read the postscript. "Of course, what I give to you is what I learned in business, so it goes no further. It is a queer cipher that you handle by the yard every day, and can get no meaning from." McMurdo sat in silence for some time, with the letter in his listless hands. The mist had lifted for a moment, and there was Abyss before him. "Does anyone else know this?" he asked. "I've told no one else. But this man, your friend, has he any other persons that we're likely to write to?" "Well, I dare say he knows 1 or 2 more." "Of the lodge?" "It's likely enough." It was asking because it's likely he may have given some description of this fellow Bertie Edwards. Then we can get on his trail. "Well, it's possible, but I should not think he knew him. He is just telling me the news that came to him by the way of business. How would he know of this Pinkerton man?" McMurdo gave a violent start. "Bagger!" he cried. "I got him! What a fool! I was not to have known it. Lord, but we are luck! We will fix him before he can do any harm. See here, Morris. Will you leave this thing in my hands?" "Sure, if you can only take it off mine." "I'll do that. You stand right back and let me run it. Even your name need not be mentioned. I'll take it all on myself, as if it were to me that this letter has come. Will that content you?" "It's just what I would ask." "Then leave it at that, and keep your head shut. Now, I'll get down to the lodge, and we'll see. Soon make old man Pinkerton sorry for himself." "You wouldn't kill this man?" "It's less you know, friend Morris. The easier your conscience will be, and the better you will sleep. Ask no questions, and let these things settle themselves. I have a hold of it now." Morris shook his head sadly as he left. "I feel that his blood is on my hands," he groaned. Self-protection is no murder anyhow, said Myrtle, smiling grimly. It's him or us. I guess this man would destroy all of us if we left him long in the belly. Why, Brother Morris, we'll have to elect you Body Master yet, for you're surely saved the lodge. And yet it was clear from his actions that he thought more seriously of this new intrusion than his words would show. It may have been his guilty conscience. It may have been the reputation of Pinkerton's organization. It may have been the knowledge that great, rich corporations had set themselves to the task of clearing out the scours. Whatever the reason, his actions were those of a man who is preparing for the worst. Every paper which would incriminate him was destroyed before he left the house. After that he gave a long sigh of satisfaction, for it seemed to him that he was safe. And yet the danger must still press somewhat upon him, for on his way to the lodge he stopped at Old Man Shackler's. The house was forbidden to him, but when he tapped at the window, Eddie came out to him, dancing. The dancing Irish Deity tree had gone from her lover's eyes. She read his danger in his earnest face. "Something has happened," she cried. "Oh, Jack, you're in danger." "Sure, it is not very bad, my sweetheart, and yet it may be wise that we make a move before it's worse." "Make a move?" "I promised you once that I would go someday. I think the time is coming. I had news tonight. Bad news, and I'll see trouble coming." "The police?" "Well, a Pinkerton, but sure you wouldn't know what that is. A Pushula, nor what it means like to me. I'm too deep in this thing, and I may have to get out of it quick. You said you would come to me if I went." "Oh, Jack, it would be saving of you." "I'm an honest man in some things, Eddie. I wouldn't hurt a hair of your beauty, bonny head for all the world can give, nor even pull you down 1 inch from the golden throne above the clouds where I always see you. Would you trust me?" She put her hand on it. She put her hand in his without a word. "Well then, listen to what I say and do as I order you, for indeed it's only you. It's only way for us. Things are going to happen in this valley. I feel it in my bones. There may be many of us that will have to look out for ourselves. I'm one. Anyhow, if I go by day or night, it is you that must come with me." "I come after you, Jack." No, you shall come with me. If this valley is closed to me and I can never come back, how can I leave you behind and perhaps in hiding for the police with never a chance of a message? It is with me you must come. I know good women in the place I come from, and it's there I'll leave you till we can get married. Will you come?" "Yes, Jack, I will come." "God bless you for your trust in me. It's a fiend out of that hell that I should be if I abuse it. Now, mark you, Eddie, it will be just a word to you, and when you reaches you, you will drop everything and come right down to the waiting room at the depot and stay there till I come to you. Day or night, I'll come at the word, Jack." Somewhat eased in mind, and now that his own preparations for escape had begun, McMurdo went on to the lodge. It already assembled, and only by complicated signs and countersigns could he pass through the outer guard and inner guard whose clothes styled it. A buzz of pleasure and welcome greeted him as he entered. The long room was crowded, and through the haze of tobacco smoke he saw the tangled black mane of the Bodymaster, the cruel, unfriendly features of Baldwin, the vulture face of Haraway, the secretary, and a dozen more who were among the leaders of the lodge. He rejoiced that they should all be there to make the council ever his news. Indeed, it's glad we are to see you, brother, cried the chairman. It's business here that wants us a summon and judgment to set it right. It's Lander and Elgin, explained his neighbor as he took a seat. They both claimed they had money given by the lodge for the shooting of an old man grabby at the Stylestone, and who's to say which fired the bullet? McMurdo rose to his place and raised his hand. The expression of his face froze the attention of the audience. There was a dead hush of expectation. "Eminent Bodymasters," he said in a solemn voice, "I claim urgency." "Brother McMurdo claims urgency," said McGinty. "It's a claim by the rules the lodge takes precedence. Now, brother, we attend you." McMurdo took the letter from his pocket. "Eminent Bodymasters and brethren," he said, "I am bearer of ill news this day, but it's better that I should be known and discussed than that a blow should fall upon us without warning which would destroy us all. I have information that the most powerful and richest organizations in the state have bound themselves together for our destruction, and at this very moment there is a Pinkerton detective, one Bertie Edwards, at work in the valley collecting evidence which may put a rope around the necks of many of us, and send every man into his room, into a felon's cell. That is the situation for the discussion which I have made the claim of urgency." There was dead silence in the room. It was broken by the chairman. "What's your evidence for this, Brother McMurdo?" he asked. "It is the letter which had come into my hands," said McMurdo. He read the passage aloud. "It's a matter of honor with me that I can give no further particulars about the letter, nor put it into your hands. But I assure you there is nothing else in which I can affect the interest of the lodge. I put the case before you as it had reached me." "Let me say, Mr. Chairman," said one of the elder brothers, "that I've heard of Bertie Edwards, and that he has the name of being the best man in the Pinkerton service." "Does anyone know him by sight?" asked McGinty. "Yes," said McMurdo, "I do." There was a murmur of astonishment through the hall. "I believe we hold him in the hollow at our hands," he continued with an exulting smile on his face. "If we act quickly and wisely, we can cut this thing short. If I have your confidence and your help, there's little that we have to fear." "What do we have to fear, anyhow? What can he know of our affairs?" "He might say so if we were as staunch as you, Counselor. But this man has all the millions of capitalists at his back. Do you think there is no weaker brother among all our lodges that cannot be bought? He will get our secrets, and maybe has them already. There's only one sure cure. That he never leaves the valley," said Baldwin. McMurdo nodded. "Good for you, Brother Baldwin," he said. "You and I have had our differences, but you have said true word tonight. Where is this man? Where shall we know him?" "Eminent Bodymaster," said McMurdo earnestly, "I would put it to you that this is too vital a thing for us to discuss in open lodge. God forbid that I would show a doubt on anyone here, but if so much as a word of gossip got to his ears of this man, there would be no end of any chance of our getting him. I would ask the lodge to choose a trusty committee. Mr. Chairman, yourself, if I might suggest it, and Brother Baldwin here, and 5 more. Then I can talk freely of what I know, and what I advise should be done." The proposition was once adopted, and the committee was chosen. Beside the chairman and the Baldwin, there was a vulture-faced secretary, Haraway, Tiger Cormac, and a brutal young assassin, Carter. The treasurer and the brothers willingly fearless and desperate men who would stick stick at nothing. The usual revelry of the lodge was short and subdued, but there was a cloud upon the men's spirits, and many, therefore, the first time began to see the cloud of avenging lodge drifting up the serene sky under which they had dwelt so long. The horrors they had dealt to others had been so part of their settled lives that the thought of retribution had become a remote one, and seemed so more startling now that it came so closely upon them. They broke up early and left their leaders to their council. "Now, McMurdo," said McGinty, when we're alone. 7 men sat frozen in their seats. "I said I just know that I knew Bertie Edwards," McMurdo explained. "I need not tell you that he is not here under that name. He is a brave man, but not a crazy one. He passes under the name of Steve Wilson, and he is lodging at the Hobson's Patch." "How do you know this?" "Because I fell into talk with him. I thought little of it at the time, nor would it have given a second thought but for this letter. But now, I'm sure it's the man. I met him on the cars when I went down the line on Wednesday. A hard case if ever there was one. He said he was a reporter. I believed it for a moment. Wanted to know all he could about the scours and what he called the outrages for a New York paper. He asked me every kind of question so as to get something. Yet bet I was giving him nothing away. I pay for it, and pay well, said he, if I could get some stuff that would suit my editor. I said I thought I would please him best, and he handed me $20 bill for the information. There's 10 times in it for you, he said, if you can find me all that I want. What did you tell him then? Any stuff I can make up. How do you know he wasn't a newspaper man? I tell you, he's got out. He's got out at Hobson's Patch, and so did I. I chanced into the telegraph bureau where he was leaving it. See here, said the operator after he'd gone out. I guess we should charge double rates for this. I guess you should, said I. He filled the form with stuff that might have been Chinese for all we could make of it. He fires a sheet of this off every day, said the clerk. Yes, said I. It's special news for his paper, and he's scared that others should tap it. That was what the operator thought and what I thought at the time. But I think differently now. By gar, I believe you are right, said McGinty. But what do you allow that we should do about it? Why not go right down now and fix him, someone suggested. Aye, the sooner the better. I'd start this minute if I knew where we could find him, said McMurdo. He's in Hobson's Patch, but I do not know the house. I've got a plan, though, if you only take my advice. Well, what's that? I'll go to the patch tomorrow morning and find him through the operator. He can locate him. I guess, well then, I'll tell him that I'm a freeman myself, and I'll offer him all the secrets of the lodge for a price. You'll be able to tumble to it. I'll tell him the papers are at my house, and that as much as my life would be worth to let him come while folk were about. You'll see that the house and the horse scents. Let him come at 10 o'clock at night, and he shall see everything. That will fetch him for sure. Well, you can plan for the rest of yourselves. Widow McMarks is a lonely house. She is true as steel and as deaf as a post. So there's only Scanlon and me in the house. If I get his promise, and I'll let you know if I do, I'd have the whole 7 of you come to me by 9 o'clock. We'll get him in, and if he gets out alive, well, he can talk of Bertie Edwards' luck for the rest of his days. There's going to be a vacancy of Pinkertons, or I'm mistaken. I leave it at that, McMurdo. At 9 tomorrow, we'll be with you. You once get the door shut behind him, and you leave the rest with us. Chapter 7. The Trapping of Bertie Edwards. As McMurdo said, the house in which he lived was a lonely one and very well suited for such a crime as they had planned. It was on the extreme fringe of the town and stood well back from the road. In any other case, conspirators would have had simply called out their man, as they had many times before, and emptied their pistols into his body. But in this instance, it was very necessary to find out how much he knew, and how he knew it, and what he had been passed on to his employers. It was possible that they were already too late and that their work had been done, but if that was indeed so, they would at least have their revenge upon the man who had done it. But they were hopeful that nothing of great importance had yet come to the detective's knowledge, as otherwise, they argued, he would not have trouble to write down and forward such trivial information as McMurdo claimed to have given him. However, all this would have learned from his own lips. Once in their power, they would find a way to make him speak. It was not the first time that they handled an unwilling witness. McMurdo went to Hodgson's patch as agreed. The police seemed to take particular interest in him that morning, and Captain Morwen, who had claimed the old acquaintance with him at Chicago, actually addressed him as he waited at the station. McMurdo turned away and refused to speak with him. He was back from his mission in the afternoon and saw McGinty in the Union House. "He is coming," he said. "Good," said McGinty. The giant was in his shirt sleeve, with chains and seals gleaming athwart his ample waistcoat, and a diamond twinkling through the fringe of his bristling beard. Drink and politics had made the boss a very rich, as well as powerful man. The more trouble, therefore, seemed that glimpse of the prison or gallows which had risen before him the night before. "Do you reckon he knows much?" he asked anxiously. McMurdo shook his head gloomily. "He's been here some time, 6 weeks at least. I guess he didn't come into these parts to look at the prospect. If he's been working among us all that time, he's railroad money at his back. I should expect that he got results, and that he has pressed them on." "There is not a weak man in the lodge," cried McGinty. "True as steel, every man of them. And yet, by the Lord, there is that skunk Morris. What about him? If any man gives us away, it'll be him. I have mind to send a couple of the boys round before evening to give him a beating up and see what they can get from him." "Well, there would be no harm in that," McMurdo answered. "I won't deny that. I have a liking for him. Morris would be sorry to see him come to harm. He has spoken to me once or twice over large matters, and though he may not see them the same as you or he never seemed the sort that squeals, but still it's not for me to stand between him and you." "I'll fix the old devil," said McGinty, with an oath, "if I had my eye on him this year past." "Well, you know what's best about that," McMurdo answered. "But whatever you do must be tomorrow, for we must lie low until the Pinkerton affairs is settled up. We can't afford to set the police buzzing today of all days." "True for you," said McGinty. "And we'll learn from the Bertie Edwards himself where he got his news, and if we have to cut his throat out first." "Did you seem to sense a trap?" McMurdo laughed. "I guess I took him on his weak point," he said. "If he could get on the good trail of the Scours, he's ready to follow it into hell. I took his money." McMurdo grinned and produced a wad of dollar notes. "And as much more when he has seen all my papers." "What papers?" "Well, there are no papers. but I filled him up with about constitutions and books of rules and forms of memberships. He expects to get right down to the end of everything before he leaves. Faith, he's right there, said McGinty grimly. Didn't he ask you why you didn't bring the papers? As if I could carry such things. And me as a suspected man, and Captain Warren, after speaking to me this very day at the depot? I heard of that, said McGinty. I guess the heavy end of this business is coming onto you. We could put him down on old Shaft when we've done with him, but however we work, if it can't get past the man living at Hobson's Patch, and you being there today. McMurdo shrugged his shoulders. If we handle it right, they can never prove the killing, said he. No one can see him come to the house after dark, and I'll lay it to that no one will see him go. Now see here, Counselor. I'll show you my plan, and I'll ask you to fit the others into it. You will all come in good time. Very well. He comes at 10. He is to tap the 3 times, and me to open the door for him. Then I'll get behind him and shut it. He's our man then. That's all easy and plain. Yes, but the next step wants considering. He's a hard provision. He is heavily armed, and I fooled him proper, but yet he is likely to be on his guard. Suppose I show him right into a room with 7 men in it, where he is expected to find me alone. There's going to be a shooting, and somebody's going to get hurt. That's so. And the noise is going to bring every damn copper in the township on top of it. I guess you're right. This is how I would work it. You all be in the big room, same as you saw when you had a chat with me. I'll open the door for him, show him into the parlor beside the door, and leave him there while I get the papers. That will give me the chance of telling you how things are shaping. Then I will go back to him with some faked papers as he is reading them. I will jump for him and get my grip on his pistol arm. You'll hear me call out, and you will rush. The quicker the better, for he is as strong as a man as I, and I may have more than I can manage, but I will allow that I can hold him until you come. It is a good plan, said McGinty, and the lodge will owe you a debt for this. I guess when I move out of the chair, I can put a name to the man who's coming after me. Sure, Counselor. A little more than a recruit, said McMurdo, but his face showed that he thought of the great man's compliment. When he had returned home, he made his own preparations for the grim evening in front of him. First he cleaned and oiled and loaded his Smith & Wesson revolver. Then he surveyed the room which the detective was to be trapped. It was a large apartment with a long deal table at the center, and the big stove at one side. At each of the other sides were windows. There were no shutters on these, only light curtains which drew across. McMurdo examined these attentively. No doubt it must have been struck him that the apartment was very exposed for the secret of meeting, yet its distance from the road made it less of a consequence. Finally, he discussed the matter with his fellow ledger. Scanlon, though a scour, was inoffensive little man who was too weak to stand against the opinion of the comrades, but was secretly horrified by the deeds of blood of which they sometimes had been forced to assist. McMurdo told him shortly what was intended. And if you were here, Mike Scanlon, I would take the night off and keep clear of it. There will be bloody work here before the morning. Well, indeed then, May, Scanlon answered. It's not the will, but the nerve that is wanting me. When I saw Manager Dunn go down to the gully yonder, it was just more than I could stand. I'm not made for it the same as you, or McGinty. If the lodge will think none of the worst of me, I'll just do as you advise and leave yourselves for the evening. The man came in good time, as arranged. They were outly respectable citizens, well-clad and cleanly, but a judge of faces would have read little hope for Bertie Edwards in those hard mouths and remorseless eyes. There was not a man in the room whose hands had not been reddened but a dozen times before. They were as hardened to human murder as butchered a sheep. Foremost, of course, both in appearance and in guilt, was formidable boss Horway. The secretary was a lean, bitter man with a long, stringy neck and nervous, jerky limbs, a man of incorruptible fidelity where the finances of the order were concerned, and with no notion of justice or honesty to anyone beyond. The treasurer, Carter, was a middle-aged man with an impassive, rather sulky expression and a yellow parchment skin. Was capable organizer, and the actual details of nearly every outrage had sprung from his plotting brain. The two Willoughbys were men of action, tall, lithe young fellows with determined faces, while their companion, Tiger Cormac, a heavy, dark youth, was feared even by his own comrades for the ferocity of his disposition. These were the men who assembled that night under the roof of McMurdo for the killing of Pinkerton detective. Their hosts had placed whiskey upon the table, and they had hastened to prime themselves with the work before them. Baldwin and Cormac were already half drunk, and the liquor had brought them all out all their ferocity. Cormac placed his hands on the stove for an instant. It had been lighted for the night, and was still cold. "That will do," I said with an oath. "Aye," said Baldwin, catching his meaning. "If he is strapped to that, we will have the truth out of him." "We will have the truth out of him, never fear," said McMurdo. He had nerves of steel, this man, for through the whole weight of the affair was on him. His manners was as cool and unconcerned as ever. The others mocked it and applauded. "You're the one to handle him," said the boss approvingly. "Not a warning will he get till your hands are on his throat. Pity it's there no shutters to your windows." McMurdo went from one to the other and drew curtains tighter. "Sir, no one can spy on us now. It's close upon the hour." "Maybe he won't come. Maybe he'll get a sniff of danger," said the secretary. "He'll come, never fear," McMurdo answered. "He is eager to come as you can be to see him. Hark to that. They're all sat like wax figures, some with their molasses arrested halfway to their lips. 3 loud knocks had sounded the door. "Hush!" McMurdo raised his hand in caution as an exulting glance went around the circle. His hands were laid upon their weapons. "Not a sound for your lives," McMurdo whispered as he went from the room, closing the door carefully behind him. With strained ears, the murderers waited. They counted the steps of the comrade down the passage. Then they heard him open the outer door. There was a few words of greeting, and they were aware of a strange step inside of an unfamiliar voice. An instant later came the slam of the door, turning the key in the lock. Their prey was safe within the trap. Tiger Cormac laughed horribly. The boss, McGinty, dropped his brilliant hand across his mouth. "Quiet, you fool," he whispered. "You'll be the undoing of us." There was a mutter of observation from the next room. It seemed interminable. Then the door opened, and McMurdo appeared, his finger upon his lips. He came to the end of the table and looked around at them. A subtle change had come over him. His manner was one who had great work to do. His face is set in the granite firmness. His eyes shone with a fierce excitement behind his spectacles. He had become a visible leader of men. They stared at him with eager interest, and he said nothing. Still, with some singular gaze, he looked at man to man. Well, cried the boss McGinty at last. Is he here? Is it Bertie Edwards here? Yes, McMurdo answered slowly. Bertie Edwards is here. I am Bertie Edwards. There were 10 seconds after that brief speech during which the room might have been empty. So profound was their silence. The hissing of a kettle up on the stove rose sharp and strident to the ear. 7 white faces, all turned upward to this man who dominated them, were set motionless with utter terror. Then, with a sudden shivering of a glass bristle of glistening rifle barrels broke through each window, while the curtains were torn from their hangings. At the sight, Boss McGinty gave the roar of 100 wounded bear and plunged for the half-open door. A leveled revolver met him with the stern blue eyes of Captain Marvin, the mine police, gleaming behind the sights. The boss recoiled and fell back into his chair. "You're safer there, counselor," said the man who I'm known as McMurdo. "And you, Baldwin, if you don't take your hand off your pistol, you'll cheat the hangman yet. Pull it out, or by the Lord that made me, that will do. There are 40 armed men round this house, and you can figure it out for yourselves what chance you have. Take their pistols, Marvin." There was no possible resistance under the meaning of those rifles. The men were disarmed, sulky, sheepish, and amazed that they still sat round the table. "I'd like to say a word to you before we separate," said the man who had trapped them. "I guess we may not meet again until you see me on the stand at the courthouse. I'll give you something to think over between now and then. You know me for what I am. At last I can put my cards on the table. I am Bertie Edwards of Pinkerton's. I was chosen to break up your gang. I had a hard and dangerous game to play. Not a soul, not one soul of my nearest and dearest knew I was playing it. Only Captain Marvin here and my employees knew that. But it's ever tonight, thank God, that I am the winner." 7 pale, rigid faces looked up at him. There was unappeasable hatred in their eyes. He read the relentless threat. "Maybe you think that the game is not over yet. Well, I take my chance at that. Anyhow, some of you will take no further hand, and there are 60 more besides yourselves that will see jail this night. I tell you this, that when I was put upon this job, I never believed there was such a society as yours. I thought it was paper talk, and I thought that I would prove it so. They told me it was to do with the freemen, so I went to Chicago and was made one. Then I was surer than ever that it was just paper talk, for I found no harm in society, but a great deal of good. Still, I had to carry out my job, and I came to the coal valleys. Where I reached this place, I learned I was wrong, and it wasn't a dime novel after all. So I stayed to look after it. I never killed a man in Chicago. I never minted a dollar in my life. Those I gave you were as good as any others. But I never spent money better. But I knew the way to your good wishes, and so I pretended to know to you that the law was after me, and it all worked just as I thought. So I joined your infernal lodge, and I took my share in your councils. Maybe they will say that I was as bad as you. They can say what they like, as long as I get you. But that is the truth. What is the truth? That night I joined you to beat up the old man stranger. I could not warn him, for there was no time. But I held your hand, Baldwin, when you would have killed him, if I ever suggested things so as to keep my place among you. The worst which I know I could prevent. I could not save Dunn and Menzies, for I did not know enough. But I will see that the murderers are hanged. I gave Chester Wilcox warning, so that when I blew his house and his folks were hiding, There was many a crime that I could not stop. But if you look back and think how often your man came home the other read, or was drawn down in town when you went for him, or stayed indoors when you thought he would come out, you'll see my work. You blasted traitor, hissed McGinty through his closed teeth. I, John McGinty. You may call me that if you eases your smart. You and your like have been the enemy of God and man in these parts. It took a man to get between you and the poor devils of men and women that you held under your grip. There was just one way of doing it, and I did it. You call me a traitor, but I guess there will be 1,000 will call me a deliverer of that went down into hell to save them. I've had 3 months of it. I would have had 3 such months again if they let me loose in the treasury of Washington for it. I had to stay till I got it all. Every single man and every secret right here in this hand. I have waited a little longer if it hadn't come to my knowledge of my secret was coming out. A letter had come into the town which would have set you wise to it all. Then I had to act, and act quickly. There's nothing more to say to you except that when my time comes, I'll die the easier when I think of my work that I have done in this valley. Now, Marvin, I'll keep to you no more. Take them in and get it over. There's little more to tell. Scanlan had been given the sealed note to be left at the address of Miss Eddie Schaefer, a mission which he had accepted with a wink and knowing smile. In the early hours of the morning, a beautiful woman and a much muffled man boarded a special train which had been sent by the railroad company and made a swift, unbroken journey out of the land of danger. It was the last time that ever either Eddie or her lover set foot in the Valley of Fear. 10 days later, they were married in Chicago, with old Jack Shafter as witness of the wedding. The trial of the Scours was held for them. The police were there. Adherents might have been terrified, the guardians of the law. In vain they struggled. In vain the money of the large, money squeezed by blackmail out of the whole countryside, was spent like water in an attempt to save them. A cold, clear, unimpassioned statement from one who knew every detail of their lives, their organization, and their crimes was unshaken by the whole wiles of the defenders. And at last, so many years, they were broken and scattered. The cloud was lifted forever from that valley. McGinty met his fate upon the scaffold, cringing and whining when the last hour came. 8 of his chief followers shared his fate. 50 odd had various degrees of imprisonment. The work of Bertie Edwards was complete. And yet, as he had guessed, the game was not over yet. There was another hand to be played, and another, and another. Ed Baldwin, for one, had escaped the scaffold, so that several others of the fiercest spirits of the gang. For 10 years they were out of the world, and they came to a day when they were free once more, a day which Edwards, who knew his men, was very sure would be the end of his life of peace. They had sworn an oath, all they would thought holy, to have his blood as vengeance for their comrades, and well they strove to keep their vow. From Chicago he was chased after 2 attempts so near success it was sure that the third would get him. From Chicago he went on to change the name to California, and it was there that the light went out for a time of his life when Eddie Edwards died. Once again he was nearly killed, and once again under the name of Douglas he worked in a lonely canyon, where with an English partner named Walker he amassed a fortune. At last there came a wave warning to him that the bloodhounds were on his track once more, and he cleared it only in time for England. And thence came the John Douglas who for a second time married a worthy mate, and lived for 5 years a Sussex County gentleman, a life which ended with the strange happenings which we have heard. Epilogue. The police trial had passed in which the case of John Douglas was referred to a higher court, so as the Court of Sessions of which was acquitted of having acted in self-defense. "Get him out of England at any cost," wrote Holmes to the wife. "There are forces here which may be more dangerous than those he has escaped. There is no safety for your husband in England." 2 months had gone by, and the case had, to some extent, passed from our minds. Then one morning there came an enigmatic note slipped into our letterbox. "Dear me, Mr. Holmes, dear me," said singular Espitil. There was neither superscription nor signature. I laughed at the quaint message, but Holmes showed unwonted seriousness. "Deviltry, Watson," he remarked, and sat long with clouded brow. Late that night, Miss Hudson, our landlady, brought up a message that the gentleman wished to see Mr. Holmes, and that the matter was of the utmost importance. Close at the heels of his message came Cecil Baker, our friend of the moated manor house, his face drawn and haggard. "I have bad news, terrible news, Mr. Holmes," said he. "I feared as much," said Holmes. "You have not had a cable, have you?" "I have a note from someone who has. It's poor Douglas. They tell me his name is Edwards, but he will always be Jack Douglas of Pinto Canyon to me. I told you they started together for South Africa in the Palmyra 3 weeks ago. Exactly. The ship reached Cape Town last night. I received his cable from Miss Douglas this morning. Jack has been lost overboard in a gate off St. Helena. No one knows how the accident occurred. Ivy Douglas." "Ha! It came like that, did it?" said Holmes softly. "Well, no doubt. It was a strange staged manner." "You mean that you think there was no accident?" "None in the world." "Was he murdered?" "Surely." "So, I think also these infernal scours, this cursed vindictive nest of criminals." "No, no, my good sir," said Holmes. "There is a master hand here. It is no case of Charlotte shotguns and clumsy 6-shooters. You can tell an old master by the sweep of his brush. I can tell Moriarty when I see one. This crime came from London, not from America." "But for what motive?" "Because it's done by a man who cannot afford to fail. One whose whole unique position depends upon the fact that all he does must succeed. A great brain and a huge organization have been turned to the extinction of one man. It is crushing the nut with the trip-hammer. An absurd extravagancy of energy, but the nut is very effectively crushed all the same. How came this man have anything to do with it? I can only say that the first word that ever came to us of the business was from one of his lieutenants. These Americans were well advised. Having an English job to do, they took into partnership, as any foreign criminal would do, this great consultant in crime. From that moment the man was doomed. At first he would content himself by using his machinery in order to find the victim. Then he would indicate how the matter would be treated. Finally, when he read the reports of the failure of this agent, he would step in himself with a master touch. You heard me warn this man at Burlstone Manor House. that the coming danger was greater than the past. Was I right? Barker beat his head with his clenched fist in his impotent rage. Do you not tell me that we have to sit down under this? Do you say that no one can ever get leveled with this king devil? No, I don't say that, said Holmes, and his eyes seemed to be looking far into the future. I didn't say that he can't be beat, but you must give me time. You must give me time. We all sat in silence for some minutes, while those fateful eyes still strained to pierce the veil.